So Zaven Collins, who is today's featured player for the 2021 draft profiles, is an interesting player because he's likely a really good edge rusher that you can get at a discount, not somebody that you're going to have to spend a top 10 or a top 15, maybe not even a top 20 pick on a player who looks like he has a lot of unlocked potential. So Zaven Collins is a linebacker for Tulsa. I believe that a lot of scouts and analysts that I've read so far believe that he projects as an edge rusher or an edge defender. And that's interesting right off the bat, because if you watch his film, he doesn't put his hand in the dirt ever. So he would be a stand-up edge rusher, if you will. So it would be interesting to see what schemes he fits and whether or not they would actually utilize him in that sense. But there is evidence on tape that he can be a very good edge rusher because he does get after the quarterback very well. The thing that I don't see yet, or maybe I just haven't watched enough film. I watched the Tulane game and UCF. I always want to say UFC. I don't know if that's a Mandela effect or what, but it just always slips me up when it comes to UFC and UCF. Anyway, I've watched the Tulane film and the UCF film, and I don't see the bend that I like to see out of edge rushers like a Brian Burns from a couple of years ago out of Florida State. Usually once he gets to the peak of the, I guess you would call it a route for lack of better terminology, around the tackle, he sort of ends up in a, straight up and down, shoulder to shoulder type of thing that you would normally see, trying to fight off a block at the line. So I don't see the bend to get around the tackles. And again, I could have missed it, but so far haven't seen that. So I'm interested to see how he actually gets utilized as an edge rusher. Sort of, for lack of a better word, compared to somebody who creeps up to the line on the edge and then just takes a direct route to the quarterback. So for the last 3 years, he's been a very productive linebacker. In 2018, he played 12 games, 85 tackles, 42 solo, 9.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. In 2019, another 12 games, 97 tackles, 51 for solo, 8 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. And in 2020, in a shortened season of 8 games, 54 tackles, 36 solo, 7.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, which was 8th in the American Conference, and 4 interceptions, which was 1st in the American Conference. Last game, they played against Cincinnati, which Tulsa lost. Not much really to talk about. 2 tackles credited to Zaven Collins, but not much of anything else. But he was a very good defensive player this year, and we'll get into why that was here in a minute. I know you can't see the scouting notes over my shoulder because I'm trying a different setup so that you can hear me and I'm not sitting so far away. But we will definitely get to those. So for the 2020 awards that he won, he was the Defensive Player of the Year for his conference, and he also walked away with the Nagurski Award, which is awarded to the best defensive player in the country. Almost said the world, but I guess that does apply because nobody else is doing this outside of the United States. And if you have heard of this award before, you know he's in very good company. Recent recipients of this award include, but not limited to, Bradley Chubb, Chase Young, who has had a tremendous rookie season for the Washington football team this year. I'm not trying to compare the two, but just to know what company he's in. Also, Josh Allen, a prominent edge rusher for Jacksonville that I'm very keen on, who has not really peaked yet, but he's shown a lot of potential. And this guy named Aaron Darnold, you might have heard of, once upon a time. So those are for some former recipients of this award. So he's in good company, and that could mean a lot for his draft stock, which has climbed a lot in the past few months. Current big board rankings, you find him somewhere in the 30s, maybe in the 20s. In some of the ones that I looked at, Tankathon has him ranked at number 33 overall. The Draft Network has him number 33 overall. Walter Football has him 27th overall. If you go back to the late days of October and look at, for example, PFF Big Board by Mike Renner, Zaven Collins was in the 90s. And I believe that most of these big boards are about 100 players, give or take. But yeah, he was number, I believe, 91 on Mike Renner's PFF Big Board back in late October. I think they had only played 2 games at that point. So he's been a definite riser. His stock has gone up as the season has gone on. And I think once we see him, if we get a combine, once we see him at the combine, we may get some more stock up, if you will. He's one of the linebackers being considered in the first round, at the end of the first round. Micah Parsons is obviously going to be the first linebacker off the board in this draft. We're also looking at Nick Bolton and a few others, but Zaven Collins is an intriguing prospect. What I do like about him is the high pass rush ceiling that he does possess. The scouting reports that I've read believe that if he gets into the right situation and the right coaches, that they could unlock some massive potential in that department. There's also the versatility that is nice to, like, he can rush the passer, he can drop back into coverage. Favorite thing for me watching him play football, at least in the limited time that I've seen, is the fact that he is very good at tracking, right? He's always got his head focused on where the ball is, and he never really loses track of it. So he's always involved in the play, zipping around the field back and forth. If the ball is anywhere in his vicinity, he's going to be involved in the play. He will also chase down the ball if it's not near him. I've seen there was one instance where he overshot a pass rush and the quarterback took off. I believe it was UCF, that Gabriel kid. And he ended up chasing him down. The quarterback ran out of bounds, so no actual tackle, but still he kept with the play, and he kept in stride with the running quarterback. So that's very interesting, and a lot of people really credit his instincts and how he's always near the ball too. But I think I would credit it more to his ability to track and be aware and play recognition of where the ball is. One of the knocks against him, I guess if you would say, one of the criticisms that I've seen written about him is that given his size, 6'4", 260 pounds, a lot of people wish that he was more aggressive or more violent at the point of attack. You don't really see him shed blocks in a meaningful way like an Aaron Darnold, who absolutely bulldozes people and will throw people to the ground like rag dolls. You don't really see that too much with him. It's more of just fighting off the block and getting around the person as opposed to going through them and dominating them. And I guess that criticism is warranted given his size, 6'4", 260, which I've said 3 times by now. So maybe if he gets a little bit more aggressive in that department, that would help his draft stock immensely and help him get to some playing time early on in his career. So I think a lot of people are looking at Zaven Collins late in the first round. I would say as high as wherever the Browns might be picking. They are very in need of a linebacker. I think the only current noteworthy linebackers on the roster being Mack Wilson and Taki. So yeah, a definite addition to any linebacking core. And if you're looking for a project pass rusher who's not going to have their hand in the dirt, Zaven Collins is your guy. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.